Hi guys, welcome back to the fish room. Today we're building a cherry barb breeding tank. Currently I have my cherry barbs with some bronze cories, which is fine. Both fish are breeding. I've had some success with both. However, I want to focus a little bit more on my bronze cories. So what I'm going to do is actually move my cherry barbs out into their own tank. There's a little too many of them in there, and they are also just a little bit more feisty than the bronze cories. So I think they are causing a little bit of problems with eating the eggs and things like that. So we are going to just move them on. I've got a 4-foot tank that I've split down the middle into two 2-foots. So this is what I'm thinking of using. One side being my breeding side, and then the other side maybe a grow out for the babies. It's going to be a pretty simple video, basically just filling it up, I'm going to get some plants in there, but just some like nice stem plants, nothing crazy, and we'll get that breeding box set up, much like my CPD breeding setup. Starting off, we're going in with a nutrient-rich layer. Now, this is just my normal mix that I do, so it's 1 part sand, 1 part small gravel, and 1 part aqua soil. I also add in a little bit of root tabs or fertilizer in there as well. That's just for the plants to grow their roots into, get all the nutrients out of. Now, this particular batch I have pre-used, but you can see that it is quite, say, dirty, but that is just nutrients that the plants can use to grow. So now we don't want all that muck to go through the water column, so we are going to cap this off with a decorative sand. I'm choosing a black sand. This is what I like to put in a lot of tanks at the moment, although I am wanting to have a play with the black smooth gravel that Showmasters make. So I am looking for a bag of that to start making some tanks with that, because I think it looks really, really nice. But right now we have the black sand that I use most often. I like the look of it. The only thing that I would not put this in with is Corydoras or any other fish that like to dig through the sand, because it is quite a rough sand. So you do find that those little mouths can get cut up a little bit. So definitely no cories on this sort of sand, but for my cherry barbs, who will be mostly in the mid column to the high, to the mid water column, they'll be fine in here. So just for my setup, I'm popping in an egg collector with some moss and a sponge filter. I'm going to fill this tank up and run it for a while just to get that cycle going. I have left this tank for a few days now, but I think we're ready for plants. I wanted to get the cycle re-going and make sure that everything was perfect in there before I continued on. But now I think we're ready for some plants, and we could even potentially get some fish in there. Starting off, we're going to pop in some stem plants. This is Hygrophila blue. I also have the narrow leaf version of this plant, which you would have seen in some previous builds. Quite a hardy plant. I've found that it doesn't take a lot of care. I don't do much to it at all, really. You can definitely feed it. It does benefit from some leaf zone every now and again. I have found that the stems that I have fed have bushed out for me a little bit more, but otherwise what you're looking at is just in the tank with some fish. The only thing that I've ever noticed with this plant is that if you chop it a little bit too much, it can not grow any leaves back. So that is something to be aware of. Otherwise, very hardy, can live in a range of different water parameters. All around great beginner stem plant. Next in, I'm putting an Echinodorus rennie in, or the red sword. This is a smaller sword, so these guys don't actually grow huge. But it is a red sword, so you can see there that the leaves are nice and brown. They have that beautiful vein pattern on them. I really like these little swords. I think they're great, and they just fill in the space really nicely. Something to remember with these swords too is they do need a lot of light, and they do need a lot of fertilization. I did put a root tab underneath this sword just so I kept up with that food for it. So definitely something I'd recommend if you are looking to put some swords in your aquarium. Make sure you have a high light and that it isn't covered by anything, and that you also get some root tabs for them. I've also popped in a mixture of Ludwigia and Bacopa stem plants. I don't know the exact strain that these guys are. I know that these are definitely Bacopa and Ludwigia. It is just a red version of them. And they are quite a lovely plant, and I haven't found any issues growing them. Even with the red colouring and as you can see, they've got that brown tinge to them. I've just been using some hardware floodlights over these aquariums, and it's been enough to keep that red up. And of course, also I'm popping in some liquid fertilizer every now and again for them. I am doing this tank a little bit backwards to how I normally do it. I have decided to put in some rocks and some hardscape. Now, originally I just wanted plants in this tank. I wanted to use it to grow stem plants out. I've got a few tanks that I do that with now, and I just thought, oh, well, I'll add another one to it. After doing that, I decided that it didn't look that great, and I'm going to add some rocks. So I started adding rocks to things, and I just placed them where I thought there was some space, basically, just filling in space, making it look a little bit more, you know, natural and aesthetic. So that's all I'm doing here, is just dropping stones in and hoping for the best. Now I'm going to anchor this Java moss down into the egg collector box in the center there. I'm just using a aquarium plant weight, which I just got at a local fish store. They currently are selling them at the fish room in Hallam, so if you are looking for them or if you need something like that, they are there, if you're in Melbourne of course, and that's where I got mine from. So, and they're great. You can just bend them around the plants and they work perfectly, and now my moss is anchored to the box, which means that the fish can't knock it out. Now that I'm done planting, it's time to collect my cherry barbs. So I actually have 2 tanks that have cherry barbs in them. I'm going to collect all of them and then we're going to sort them out. So this is one tank that I had. I actually only put a few in there just to see if I can get some breeding happening. This is the other tank. So originally they were all together, but I think I had too many in my little swarm. So I'm going to separate them. These are the ones I've decided to use as breeders, and my other ones I'm going to pop into this tub that have some growing babies. So off they go into there, and they're quite happy because there's a lot of plant matter and stuff in there for them to hide in, and they can school with the growing babies that I've got in there at the moment. And now I'm going to release my breeders into this tank. So I popped in a ratio of 2 males and a ratio of 2 males and 8 females. The 2 males should chase the females into that Java moss there where they can spawn. I like having the 2 males because they tend to flare up a little bit more and peacock each other, so the females are a little bit more interested. So this is my breeding tank. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content, and hopefully in the next few weeks we will have some cherry barb babies to show you. Like and subscribe. I'd really like to hear from you if you've had any luck breeding cherry barbs, or if you are setting up a tank to breed them. They're a super fun little fish, really easy egg scatterer to breed, and they are very rewarding. I would recommend, if you are looking to go from like live bearers to egg scatterers, this would be a great fish to start with. Thanks again guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.